Welcome to Don't Guard, everyone. Today is one of those days where I want to rip out the hair that I don't have.
I'll start growing it.
Today we have a deck profile for everyone. A little different from the norm. I know we don't really do too many deck profiles. We like to do in-your-face action. Yeah! Michael Bay explosions. But, yeah, we have Jokerz gyze Gabrielle deck. I've been testing it out personally, so I can work out all the kinks on it and make sure that it's play-worthy. Yeah, so starting off, the starter is obviously Neon gyze. It's gyze. In order to have all the other Zeroth dragons, you need to play that. So, just don't forget, guys, it doesn't move back here. It's not a Forerunner. It goes into the G zone face up. I forget that a lot. Grade 3s. We play one original Gabrielle. Deck lacks a lot of defense, so we really need to play this card just in case we need a backup grade 3 on the Vanguard so we can build up resources and try to get those Prims in hand. It's a couple cards I'm going to be putting in the deck to try out, see how it works. But as of right now, the deck is going to be like this for a little bit more, a couple more matches, and then we'll go from there. Second grade 3 is the Black Devote Phaleg, or Phaleg? Is it Phaleg? Yeah, it's Phaleg. Okay. Yeah, she's really good. I mean, she does exactly what you want to do. You want to keep on, doing your damage checks and your trigger checks. Yeah. You want to do as many of those as you can. The only bad thing is there's a little bit of trouble trying to put cards back in the deck because you have to focus a lot more on getting your resources to your hand to ultimate stride. And unfortunately, you don't have enough room in the deck, as of right now at least, for what I'm trying to work on with Joker for, to really put cards into the deck that allow you to put cards back into the deck. So, yeah. It's hard to include those, in other words. And then the final grade 3 is 4 of the Gabrielle Prim. Honestly, it's a staple in pretty much any Gabrielle deck. Unless you want to do things a little differently, then you can play, like maybe 3 of those, 3 old Gabrielle. If you're just doing a pure Gabrielle build with no gyze, but you want to include Ultima. But you definitely want to play 4 of this thing. 4, guys. 4. And, I mean, making sure that you have a copy in your hand isn't going to be that bad for the original ride, but when you get into the later game and your opponent is really, putting the pressure on you, that's when things can get a little tough as far as trying to keep them into your areas where you can get them, like damage zone and your drive checks and stuff like that. Going on to the grade 2s now. 4 Black Card Vazezel. Probably going to end up switching this out for something a little different. This may or may not be some techie spice or spicy tech, I like to say. But I mean, other than that, I mean, if I have this in the damage zone face up along with the grade 3 and the perfect guard, I will always use the grade 3 skill and just heal this away because I'd rather have that extra 13k rear guard than have this being called during the battle phase. Because I don't know, that's just me though. I want my opponents to revel in the fact that they might actually lose to gyze. And then we play 2 Antibody Pegasus. This is something that Joker originally included a 2 of in her Gabrielle build for the simple fact that she absolutely hates decks that like to lock down rear guards, and having this in her deck, believe it or not, has caused her to win a lot of games because their opponents would forget that it has, resist, and they would go to Denial Griffin it or try to retire it, and she's just like, nah, it just doesn't work. Crit power, power stand. So, yeah, that's one of her favorite things to do, though, is call it off of Eden. And then one of the spicy techs that I actually discussed with her about over an hour about before she decided that it was a really good idea, and after many times of kicking my butt and playtesting, 2 of the Laser Clutcher.
Ooh.
Yeah, the Laser Clutcher KL is ridiculous. I think this is probably one of the best underrated commons from Angel Feather, aside from the heal trigger that goes back into the deck.
Correction, the blonde one. The grade 1, she is underrated.
Oh, yeah, the grade 1. Yeah, no. We'll get to that in a second. We got one more grade 2 to talk about.
She's the most underrated grade 1 I've seen.
4 of the nerfs have broken opponents' hearts. Because they hate it when you have 4 of these on the rearguard circle and you take 1 damage and get plus 8k. But in general, when playtesting with the gyze in this, the defense in general really helps. I actually had an instance where I had 2 procs off of her before my opponent actually retired her. And the 2 procs on my Vanguard for the rest of the turn helped me win that match. So, yeah, if you're going to play gyze, you definitely want to try to include 3 to 4 copies of this. Literally for the defensive capabilities. I mean, it even works on offense, too, when you're not on gyze and you're trying to set up for some power plays and to make your opponent get rid of some of their resources. Most of the time, they're going to let your attacks hit because they're not going to believe that you're playing too many crits, which is funny. And then Kind Care is the grade 1 that Joker was mentioning earlier. This card is probably tied with the second best common for Angel Feathers in the game. This is the only card that I actually know of that isn't the heal trigger that puts cards into the deck. That puts multiple cards into the deck. Because not only does it put itself in the bottom of the deck, but you get a normal unit and a trigger back as well for just a Soul Blast. And that happens when a card is put into your damage zone during that turn. So that's an auto skill, so it happens immediately when you do that. So if you don't use the skill, then it kind of like says that you didn't really use it. Like you missed the timing for it, I guess. And then we play 3 of the Black Talent Lilas. I'm not really sure what I feel about this card. I mean, it is really good for some early game.
Very often.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, yeah, I too had that instance where there was one game where I got her off with Gavriel Eden, and I called 3 copies of it, but it's like, all right, well, what do you do after that? I mean, it's just the 6k, it's just a 13k body there until the end of the turn. So the rescue skill, there's not really much room to use because a lot of the soul blasting is going to be used early stride. Because you have Eden, and then you have another tech that well not tech, but another stride that we'll be showcasing later. So these are going to come out for the tech grade 1 that I was actually going to explain. Well, I'm not going to really explain because it's tech. I don't want to give away the spiciness. Then we play 2 of the 1000 Ray Pegasus. I'm actually considering talking with Joker to see if she wants to try out some Million Ray Pegasus, which pretty much do the same thing that Gavriel Prim, I mean, not that Gavriel Prim does, but the original Gavriel and the Broken Heart do, but this one's not Generation Break oriented, and neither is the Grade 2. So, early game, when your opponents try to rush you, card goes to damage zone, okay, plus 2. Alright, I'm 11k, and now I'm 13, now I'm 15. So, again, this does what we need, and that's to make up the defense that we don't have the power for the triggers. Then, standard, 4 perfect guards, this is the best perfect guard for Angel Feathers. Some gyze builds I've seen from the Japanese videos that I watch, they actually play the original Rescue Perfect Guard. I'm not really sure that I would do that in my personal play experience because of the fact that it requires you to have another copy in the damage zone to get the check off. When this one, you can just have this in the damage zone, and then it's like, all right, 15k shield on my rescue unit, and then heal 1, deal 1. So, yeah, this card is amazing. I would play this over any Perfect Guard in Angel Feather, as of right now. That may change, though, depending on what Angel Feather gets in the future. And then the last grade 1 is 4 Stride Fodder. Aside from the usual, you really want to try to just abuse the hell out of the skill and make it so you can get a second copy of Prim in your hand to set up for when you want to gyze. If you're super duper lucky like Joker is, and get your 5 triggers off in the matter of before you get to your grade 3, then you're in there like swimwear. Because you can just literally stride on your first stride into gyze and your opponent can't do anything about it. Then they have 1 turn to try to kill you. So the earlier you can get all your triggers going, the better. And moving on to the trigger lineup. We play the 1 copy of the Surgery Angel. This will change 100%. At least 2 to 3 more copies will be put in this deck. In most of the cases where I could have used it, I couldn't afford to because I didn't have a lot of cards in my hand. So I at that time I would rather keep this in my hand for the 10k guard than put it on the field and probably die. Then we play the 1 Doxroid Repharos. Aside from putting triggers back in the deck to increase the likelihood of getting your triggers for yourself and scaring your opponent, it doesn't really have a use in my personal eyes for the gyze build only. Don't get me wrong. This card is broken otherwise. But for the gyze build, I'm not so sure it's a decent choice. I would rather have a draw trigger, to be honest. Then we play a crap ton of these babies. Crits. Again, this is going to change. It will more than likely be 2 more stands out for the crits. And then maybe like 1 or 2 draws added into the deck. I still have to talk with Joker about that. But as of right now, this is what the build is going to look like. I don't have any of the Soul Charge crits. I have no idea where they are. So I have thousands of cards to go through. So if I do find them, we'll test it with those. But as of right now, the trigger's not even really necessary because, I mean, the power boost, you're going to want to keep the 10k in your hand rather than just wasting it. And then the last trigger that we play, pretty self-explanatory, 4 heals. Now, for the gyze build, I'm thinking maybe the heal that goes back to the deck. Because you have a lot of issues with putting cards back in the deck, and that also increases your likelihood of getting triggers so you can gyze off faster. So, while Joker is currently listening right now, hopefully she kind of is up to trying out that idea as far as those triggers go.
Pegasus person alone.
And now we move on to the Spiffy G-Zone. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. Well, not blood and sweat, but a lot of tears to really figure out what Xerath Dragons I could let be in the deck because of the fact that we're very limited on them. So I had to also be careful not to mess up my metagame along with hers. So the choices that I made are actually pretty cool. I mean, the only one that really hurt was Ultima, but that's fine. I could live with that because I don't really play many United Sanctuary decks in tournaments anyway. So the first Xerath Dragon is going to be your Spiffy Ultima. And then we have the Fire Dragon, Drachma.
No one cares for Drachma.
We have the Let's Pollinate Everything, Zoa.
Zoo Nation's no attraction.
We have the Under the Sea Dragon.
Ugly tentacle monster.
And we have Stark. I can't really think of anything else funny to say, but...
Robots on crack.
And those are the 5 Xerath Dragons we play. There's really no reason to play 6. I mean, unless you're Nubatama, but that's neither here nor there. Now, some of these ideas I got through other sources, and I really like them. But starting off with the regular strides, we have 2 Holy Stuff Altiel. She's going to be 100% the first stride that I go into every single game. Just because, you know, that turn I get 2 heal checks off of the rescue ability. 1 for her, then 1 for the on-stride skill, however I decide to resolve it. It's usually the stride skill I resolve first. So she, in general, is just really good with the way that the deck wants to actually play. And then we have 2 Fnatic Seraph Gavriel Edens. Again, it's another option for you to really try to sneak in those extra checks for the rescue. But most of the time, you're not going to want to use her rescue ability for the way that the deck plays because you want that extra stride to not only get extra cards in hand, but to abuse the crap out of her ability because she can get face-up and face-down cards with her second skill. And they can all get 3k. But you really only use that skill when you're, like, in dire straits. You don't want to... do anything else aside from that. And then the final stride is, honestly, I would play more copies of it if there were room, but there's not. 2 Raphaels. Yeah, I won a match because of this. I won game 1 when I was playing against my good buddy Shuya. Shoutouts to you, my brother. Thank you very much for allowing me to come over and test. And game 1 and game 3, I won because I went into this card. I was at 3 damage in game 1 by like turn 7. And I went to this card and healed the damage for absolutely nothing. Got a free superior call off of it because of the spicy grade 2 we play. And then got a heal trigger on the next check. And he was playing, I forget what he was playing. Please remind me if you're in the comments. But yeah, I put him to like 2 to 3 damage that turn. He healed out of it next turn, but then I killed him with gyze. Now for the G-Guardians. I mean, the G-Guardians, to me, in a gyze deck, they become obsolete the further the game goes. Just my personal opinion. I know a whole bunch of other people are going to think otherwise. But we got one of the flipper just because it's extra options for more guard. The deck
Big
needs
titty lady.
the deck needs a lot of defense, and yes, it's a big booby lady. Now, Holy Seraph Suriel is the second G Guardian we play out of the 5. And we play 2 of them because of the fact that it's...
midget boobs.
It's not because of that. It's because she gives you an extra check, and you get to check the top card before you do the check. So if it's a trigger, and you're like 1 trigger away from gyze, alright, well, I'll put that on top. Heal deal. Okay, there's my trigger. Now I can gyze you next turn if I have the requirements. And the next G Guardian, it's a rare, but this card is so good. It won me game 3 because I had 2 heals in hand against Shuya. It won me game 3 because it was a 35k shield. Because of that, I was also able to keep the other 4 cards in hand for his double attack on the Vanguard. So, seeing as I was already on gyze, I wasn't on gyze. I needed to just survive that turn and then gyze him next turn. But that's the deck profile. But just stay tuned because I've got a whole bunch of decks that I want to showcase. I know that everyone's really, really going nuts over the new rule change, but I promise you, it will not affect the G-Zone. It just makes things so people can't abuse it, and the power creep is lessened from GBT 14 and all the other sets with the Zaroth Dragons. Everything is still going to be useful. You can still have house tournament rules over at your locals or whatever that if your store allows you to, you can still play G-Era format. You can still do standard, and you can still do premium. I understand a lot of people don't want to play premium, but if you're going to play premium, then just don't include the new set stuff. Just play all G-Era stuff. You're still doing premium. It's just G-Era. If anyone wants to do the new set stuff, then, let them join the tournament. Or, sit down and really talk with them and let them know that everyone's always open to ideas and you just got to work with them. Just don't treat anybody like crap. Their opinions are their opinions, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I'll be honest. At first, I was mad. I was so mad. That I felt like the game was going to become Magic the Gathering, and nothing slighting against Magic. I play Magic, I play Commander, but I did play Modern, I did play Legacy, and I did play Standard a long time ago. All those formats were good. They were created to keep balance in the game and keep new people coming back and old players from staying in. But
I could care less which one is. Token Rambu's not going to get anything, so no point in caring.
I'm actually upset too that Token Rambu's not going to really get the Hanamaru deck like I hope they would. But that's fine because there might be some kind of random thing as Bushiroad's like, oh, here you go, here's a little present. But other than that, I want to thank our viewers for watching the deck profile. If you have any questions, comments, any suggestions, please feel free to leave them in the comments section. And don't forget, hit that like and subscribe button, and if you want, click that bell so you can keep updated with us. See you later.